My name is Gerald Madrid. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. This is my 39th year of being a bail bond agent in my state, and I'm one of the very few bail agents left in the state since bail reform came in 2016. And I'm a member of PBUS, have been for many years, and I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so you are in New Mexico, which not a lot of people who do what you do. Why is that?
Well, we got bail reform brought to us by our state Supreme Court in 2016, and bail reform came to New Mexico with the idea that the system is not fair because the poor people, the indigent people, are as languishing in jail. That's the term you're going to hear a lot. They're languishing in jail, and the reason why they are is because the bondsman won't take them out. And the bondsman won't post the bond that the judge set, therefore they're languishing in jail, they're all innocent, and they need to be out of jail. So what bail reform does, it gets rid of the bondsman, first of all, puts all the bondsmen out of business, and then just essentially opens up the jail cells and lets everybody out on a promise to appear, and that's bail reform.
How often do they actually appear?
I can tell you that we have a massive crime problem in New Mexico, in Albuquerque in particular. We have a massive warrants problem at the felony level and the misdemeanor level, and there's not a lot of incentive to appear because offenders are now getting out of jail for free. They're getting out on nothing but a promise to appear, misdemeanor and felony charges. And again, as I said, there's no real incentive to appear because they know that it doesn't cost anything to get out of jail, and secondly, when they don't appear, the offenders know that no one's going to come looking for them. As when we were in business, we had our team of recovery agents, and we would literally go out and get them and bring them back into the system, and that was at our own cost, our own risk. Now all that's gone, there's no incentive to appear.
So you've seen a clear rise in crime.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All across the state, and a lot of people don't necessarily put two and two together. Do you think the public gets a better sense as to why the rise in crime is happening as it relates to this particular issue?
They do, and there's not a day that goes by that there's not a story about crime or jail or bail reforming like that either it's in our newspaper in the Albuquerque Journal or in a local TV station is doing a story. They get it. The media talks about it all the time. Law enforcement talks about it. The DA talks about it. Politicians talk about it, but nothing changes. We still have what we had. The bail reform that started in 2016. They're more entrenched now than ever.
There's more than 5,000 wanted criminals out on the streets of Albuquerque.
That's why today Albuquerque Mayor Tim Keller and other local officials announced they will be asking lawmakers for millions to arrest them.
Today they said one of the easiest ways to reduce crime is get more warrants served.
Our focus is dangerous individuals on our street who should not be on our street. Those are felony warrants. And as the U.S. Marshal said, and as the DA, they'll categorize and prioritize exactly who that is.
Today they pitched a new fund to pay for more overtime for police and deputies to serve more felony warrants. Last year there were 1,400 felony warrants served in Bernalillo County, mostly in Albuquerque. Right now in the city alone there are 5,000 outstanding felony warrants, 35 who are wanted for murder. They're hoping the state will pitch in upwards of $5 million to go towards paying the overtime, and an additional $5 million would go to the rest of the state.
We just got a brand new DA a month or so ago, and he was interviewed last week or so by a local TV reporter, and the reporter came over and interviewed me afterwards. He said, "You're never going to believe what the DA said." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "The DA said that things are working fine. We just need to tweak it a little bit." Working fine. I mean, in 2022, last year, Albuquerque had 121 homicides, and that was just the number of homicides that the city police investigated. Then we have the sheriff's department, the state police, tribal police, and all that. But the city police alone, 121 homicides, and that was up from 117 the year before. And each year it's gone up and gone up and gone up. And I still contend this is all connected. All this stuff is connected. You just connect the dots. But those that don't believe in what we do, oh, no, this is just a coincidence. There's no connection between the massive crime, the homelessness, the warrants, the not showing up in court, and bail reform. All of it just destroys the society, and there's just a breakdown. And I can see it.
Every single week that they're in jail, that is 20 less robberies. That is 10 less stolen cars. And we have to go back to the basics, and we have to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep the right people in jail.
Because I monitor the jail every day in my town in Albuquerque. I watch the bookings. the way a stock market watches the stock market. I watch every day. I see who's getting booked 4 or 5 times a day. I'm looking at the jail roster, and the next day I see them on the release log. They're coming out of jail.
Yeah.
And I get families that call me, oh, my guy's in jail, and he has very long criminal history. He's been to prison. He doesn't ever show up in court. I said, don't worry, he'll be out tomorrow. Oh, no, he won't. I said, if he's not out tomorrow, you call me back. They never call me back because Johnny's out tomorrow.
Not only are they out, they get rearrested pretty frequently.
Of course they do, because they know at the worst they're going to be out the next day. We have video. I saw it a couple of years ago on YouTube. There's 2 guys that get arrested on an auto burglary charge or auto theft. They stole the car. Officer caught him, and they're in the back seat. They're both in handcuffs, and one says, what are we going to do? And one turns to the other and says, dude, don't worry, we'll be out tomorrow. And the reporter followed up on it. Sure enough, they were both out tomorrow. And they were caught again in another stolen car.
So what do the people say?
Well, the people are tired of it. And I hear about it all the time. They're tired of it. But then, we get this pushback then from the public defender's office and the ACLU, this whole business that, oh, it's not fair. And the biggest thing is that they're all innocent till proven guilty. So that concept of innocent till proven guilty somehow has gotten morphed into, well, then they should be out of jail for free because everybody's innocent till proven guilty. And my pushback on that, well, that's fine. Everybody is presumed innocent, but that should take place when the trial begins. But the innocence, the presumption of innocence, what does that have to do with getting out of jail on a promise to appear? I mean, there's no incentive to show up, and that's the purpose of bond, is to make sure that the offender will show up in court each time till the case is resolved. And when the judges continuously just turn them right back out, well, again, there's no deterrence.
Yeah. So obviously the pendulum has swung very far to one side. Do you see it centering out at all?
Every day somebody asks me, do you think bail will ever come back to New Mexico? And I'm seeing a little bit of change in New Mexico, not in Albuquerque. The judges in Albuquerque will not set bond on anybody. There's one judge, let me take it back, that will set bond. You have a guy that has failed to appear 5 times on the same case, and the judge keeps releasing him, and the judge finally will set a $500 bond and say, go see Gerald Madrid. Well, why would I want that bond? Why would I want to buy myself a $500 problem for $75? I already know he's not going to show up. So the judge says, well, see, I gave you a bond. Well, come on, judge. But to answer the question, the judges in Albuquerque will not set bonds, and I don't care what it is. It's either hold in jail with no bond indefinitely. There's people in jail for 2 and 3 years that are sitting there. They don't have a court date, and they don't have a bond. They're just sitting there.
Which you can argue, by the way, that is the actual unconstitutional position.
Absolutely. It's detention without any relief. It's either hold in jail with no bond, or it's a release on a promise to appear. And it doesn't matter what your criminal history is. It doesn't matter how many failures to appear. You're out. Wow. You're out the next day. The worst of the worst are now getting the ankle bracelet. Last week in the Albuquerque Journal, week before, there was headlines, local district court judge releases a guy on a first-degree murder charge on a promise to appear on an ankle bracelet. Well, guess what? He cut the bracelet off. Yeah. Guy's gone.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, it's happening all across the country.
Yeah, so he's gone, So, why wouldn't he cut it off? If that's all it takes, a promise to appear on an ankle bracelet? And guess what? He's not paying for the ankle bracelet because he's claiming indigency. So the rest of us get to pick up the tab on the ankle bracelet that he cut off. But that's what's going on in New Mexico. And what's going on in New Mexico is no different than what's going on in New York State. It's just we're New Mexico and they're New York. It's basically the same thing.
One gets more attention.
Yeah, and New Mexico never gets the attention that it should get, the notoriety that it should get, because we have the same thing going on over there they are in New York State. It just we never get mentioned. And I watch the local news, I watch the national news, and nobody ever talks about New Mexico. But the state has been destroyed by the progressives. Our legislature is in session right now. They're about halfway through. And the Democrats introduced several what they call tough on crime bills, and they end up tabling their own bills. So the last bill that was there to be considered got tabled last week, and that's it. So there's nothing going to happen this session again. And before the session began, you had a lot of legislators, we're going to really get a handle on crime. We're going to really come after these guys. Doesn't happen. It's
Not
all
so much.
No, it's all party line. And then then the public defender, the ACLU, comes in and says, well, if anything passes in the legislative sessions, there's going to be a lot of constitutional challenges to it. And so you should just stop right there, because you're not going to survive the constitutional challenges. So they all throw in the towel, and that's the end of it.
Look, at the end of the day, if you guys want to make any sort of change, you actually need voters to step up and demand it. So keep doing what you're doing and keep highlighting this problem. Otherwise, people aren't going to be connecting the dots.
And people just don't know. But again, New Mexico is no different than New York We have the same thing going on. We just don't ever get mentioned. And I do the very best that I can with no budget. You know, I don't have any clients per se, but I'm not going to give up. I gave my word at the national level at PBUS, other organizations. I gave my word that I wouldn't quit. Even I was telling somebody, my dad died September 2020. He was a bail agent for 40 years, and he was a past president of this association. And even my dad told me, he said, son, you need to quit. There's no money in bail. It's dead. I said, Dad, I'm not quitting. I can't quit. I gave my word I'm not quitting, so I'm going to continue fighting as long as I can.